I'm delighted to have this opportunity to thank the people of Flanders, and especially Ypres and members of the Last Post Association, for continuing to honour the sacrifice of our forces.
The oldest living member of the British royal family just sent Camilla a message so cold, so brutal, that people inside the palace are still talking about it months later. His wife was gone, his health was failing fast, and from that painful place, the Duke made one thing painfully clear. Camilla would never get her hands on the royal jewels he protected for decades. No matter the pressure, no matter the title, he refused to bend. And when Camilla reportedly tried to fight the decision behind closed doors, even demanding King Charles step in and reverse it, the response she got shook her completely. Charles reportedly looked at her and shut the whole conversation down with a few icy words that insiders say left her stunned into silence. The moment everything exploded happened at the cenotaph during the National Service of Remembrance in November 2025. One of the most emotional and sacred events in the royal calendar suddenly became something far more tense. The Duke of Kent, 90 years old and visibly struggling with his health, appeared deeply fragile. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, stayed close beside him the entire time, helping support his weight as he walked. But despite his condition, despite the grief of recently losing his wife, he made a move that instantly sent shockwaves through the royal family. Witnesses claimed the Duke looked directly toward Camilla, and then deliberately turned away from her without acknowledging her at all. No smile, no greeting, nothing. Senior royals nearby reportedly froze as the awkward moment unfolded right in front of them. The silence around them felt heavy enough to crush the entire room. Then came the part people could not stop talking about. After turning away from Camilla, the Duke slowly moved toward Catherine, Princess of Wales. He reached for her hand and held on to it longer than expected. People standing nearby noticed immediately that this was not some quick, polite gesture. It felt personal, seriously, intentional. The Duke then leaned closer and quietly whispered something into Catherine's ear. Nobody publicly confirmed the exact words, but palace insiders later claimed the message carried enormous meaning. According to people close to the household, he allegedly told Catherine that the jewels would go where they belong, and that his mother's legacy would never end up with someone who had no right to carry it. He never directly said Camilla's name. He did not have to. Everyone nearby reportedly understood exactly who he meant. And once word spread through palace circles, Camilla allegedly became furious. Staff members claimed the reaction behind closed doors was explosive, with tensions rising fast after details of the exchange reached her within hours. But to understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to understand who the Duke of Kent really is. This is not some distant royal relative with little influence. The Duke has carried his title for more than 8 decades, making him the longest-serving Duke in British history. He has lived through some of the biggest royal scandals, wars, family breakdowns, and historic moments the monarchy has ever faced. He stood beside kings. He witnessed queens rise to the throne. He watched the royal family survive humiliation after humiliation, while keeping his own thoughts buried deep inside for decades. Unlike others who spoke openly or leaked stories to the press, he stayed quiet, loyal, controlled, reserved, until now. And the reason this alleged decision over the jewels became so emotional goes back generations. The jewels themselves were not just expensive accessories. They carried bloodline, tragedy, history, and survival inside every single stone. The Duke's mother, Princess Marina of Greece and Denmark, came from royal ancestry connected directly to the Romanov dynasty. That connection tied the family to one of the darkest royal tragedies in modern history, when the Russian imperial family was executed during the revolution in 1918. Many of the jewels connected to Marina became symbols of survival through chaos, war, and collapse. Pieces like the Cambridge sapphire parure, the Kent pearl festoon tiara, the diamond girandole earrings, and the pearl fringe tiara all carried decades of royal history behind them. Some pieces were eventually sold quietly during difficult financial periods. Others disappeared into private collections entirely. What remained became deeply personal treasures protected by the Duke for years. And by 2025, many insiders believed he viewed himself as the final guardian of that legacy. That is what made the moment at the cenotaph feel so heavy to people watching closely. This was not just about jewelry, it was about who he believed deserved to represent the history attached to them. And beneath all of that sat something even darker. Something the Duke reportedly carried silently for more than 30 years. Princess Diana. According to royal insiders, the Duke of Kent never forgot what happened to Diana during the collapse of her marriage to Charles. He witnessed the tension from inside the institution itself. He lived through the years when Diana's emotional struggles became impossible to hide, while public pressure around the family kept growing louder and uglier. As a senior royal during the 1980s and 1990s, the Duke sat close enough to power to see things ordinary people never saw. He reportedly knew about the pain, the betrayal, and the emotional damage happening behind palace walls long before the public fully understood how serious things had become. People close to Diana described periods where she struggled deeply with emotional pain and isolation. Stories about her personal suffering later became widely discussed across books, interviews, and documentaries for years afterward. To many people inside royal circles, she appeared overwhelmed by constant pressure, loneliness, and heartbreak. And according to insiders, the Duke blamed Camilla for being at the center of the situation that shattered Diana emotionally. Back then, men from his generation rarely spoke openly about feelings or family wounds. They stayed silent. They kept moving. And the Duke reportedly did exactly that for decades. He continued serving the crown without publicly attacking anyone. But silence does not always mean forgiveness. People close to royal circles claimed he never truly moved past what happened to Diana. He simply buried it deep enough that nobody saw it on the surface. Until that cold November morning finally brought those feelings crashing back into public view. When he allegedly turned his back on Camilla at the memorial, insiders believed it was not just a personal snub. To them, it felt like a judgment that had been sitting inside him for decades, waiting for the right moment to finally surface. And what made the whole situation even more uncomfortable was how public it became. The royal family survives on appearances. Controlled smiles, perfect timing, quiet diplomacy. They avoid visible tension whenever possible. But this moment reportedly slipped through the cracks in a way nobody could stop. People watching closely immediately sensed something was wrong. Body language experts, royal commentators, and other channels discussing the monarchy all started picking apart every second of the interaction online. Some called it deliberate. Others claimed it was simply a tired elderly man focusing on his balance and movement. But inside royal gossip circles, the rumors exploded fast. And for Camilla, the timing could not have been worse. She had already spent years trying to reshape public opinion after decades of criticism surrounding her relationship with Charles. While public attitudes softened over time, there were still many people who never fully accepted her role within the royal family. Moments like this only reopened old wounds and old arguments, especially because Catherine continues to hold enormous public support. To many royal fans, Catherine represents stability, tradition, and the future of the monarchy. So when rumors spread that the Duke viewed her as the rightful protector of certain royal traditions and heirlooms, it instantly fueled more comparisons between the two women. And behind palace walls, those comparisons reportedly created serious tension. The saddest part of all may be the Duke himself. By late 2025, many people around him reportedly feared his health was rapidly declining. Public appearances became increasingly rare. He looked physically exhausted, frail, slower than ever before. That is why the moment at the cenotaph carried so much emotional weight. Some insiders genuinely believed he knew it could be one of his final major public appearances. And if that was true, then many believe he chose to make his feelings known one last time without ever needing to say them openly. No dramatic speech, no public interview, just one icy gesture that spoke louder than words ever could. And inside the royal family, those silent gestures are sometimes the most dangerous messages of all. The resentment did not appear overnight. It was built slowly, piece by piece, over decades of silence, grief, and things people inside the palace refused to forget. And for the Duke of Kent, the anger toward Camilla reportedly went far beyond Diana. A huge part of it was deeply personal. It involved his wife, Catherine, Duchess of Kent, a woman many people close to the family described as gentle, emotional, and far too open-hearted for the brutal environment she married into. She loved deeply. She felt everything intensely. And insiders claim the royal system slowly crushed her spirit over the years. The pain started long before the public fully noticed anything was wrong. Catherine suffered heartbreaking losses during her pregnancies in the 1970s, including a miscarriage and later the loss of a baby late into pregnancy. According to people close to her, those tragedies changed her completely. Friends described her afterward as emotionally shattered, struggling to carry grief while still expected to appear calm and composed in public. The palace image always came first. During that period, reports about her emotional health quietly circulated behind the scenes. There were long stretches where she disappeared from public duties almost entirely. And instead of receiving understanding from every corner of royal society, insiders claimed she became the target of cruel gossip within elite social circles. Her decision to later convert to Catholicism reportedly created even more distance between herself and parts of the establishment. Some traditional figures inside royal-connected circles never fully accepted it. She became viewed by some as different, emotional, unpredictable, and outside the rigid expectations placed on royal women at the time. And according to palace rumors, Camilla was allegedly far from sympathetic about any of it. People who moved inside aristocratic social circles claimed gatherings sometimes turned nasty behind closed doors, with conversations about Catherine's struggles becoming entertainment for certain people in the room. Her emotional breakdowns, her disappearances from royal life, her religious conversion, all of it reportedly became whispered gossip passed around over drinks and private dinners. And insiders claimed Camilla was often right in the middle of those conversations. According to people familiar with those social groups, the jokes and comments became deeply cruel at times. Catherine was labeled unstable, weak, embarrassing. Meanwhile, the woman at the center of those rumors reportedly had no idea how often her private suffering was being discussed behind her back. When the Duke eventually learned how people had spoken about his wife, especially during her darkest years, something inside him reportedly changed forever. People close to him said he never looked at Camilla the same way again. Whatever politeness existed before slowly vanished. The relationship reportedly became cold, distant, and beyond repair. To him, Catherine had given everything she had to royal duty while privately carrying enormous emotional pain. And yet, instead of compassion, she allegedly became material for mockery inside elite circles. That wound never healed. And by the time the royal tensions over jewelry began years later, the bitterness between the Duke and Camilla had already been building for decades beneath the surface. Then Queen Elizabeth II died in September 2022, and suddenly, one of the most sensitive issues inside the monarchy quietly exploded behind palace walls: the royal jewelry collection. The public mostly saw the ceremonies, mourning, and tributes, but behind the scenes, discussions reportedly began almost immediately over who would wear certain historic pieces moving forward. Every tiara, brooch, necklace, and diamond carried meaning, status, and symbolism inside the royal family. And according to insiders, one situation hit Catherine, Princess of Wales, especially hard. Catherine reportedly hoped to receive access to a specific diamond brooch strongly associated with Princess Diana. Diana had worn it publicly, and Catherine allegedly viewed it as more than jewelry. To her, it represented a connection to William's mother and a way to continue honoring her memory respectfully. But the brooch reportedly ended up going to Camilla instead. Catherine never publicly complained. She never created drama. She reportedly accepted the decision quietly and continued with royal duties like nothing happened. But people close to her claimed the disappointment hit her far harder than anyone realized. Insiders said she became unusually quiet in the days afterward. Those around her allegedly noticed sadness written all over her face even while she tried to hide it publicly. According to some palace staff, it was one of those moments where she simply swallowed the pain and kept moving, because that is what royal life demands. But the situation did not stop there. The following year reportedly brought another clash involving royal jewelry. Catherine's team allegedly submitted a formal request to wear a Queen Mary tiara for a major state event. Everything reportedly went through the normal channels. Then the answer came back: denied. The same tiara had already been assigned elsewhere, to Camilla. People familiar with both households later claimed the scheduling overlap was not accidental at all. According to palace gossip, Camilla allegedly made sure the piece would be unavailable during the exact same period Catherine hoped to wear it. And if tensions were already bad before, what happened next reportedly made things even uglier. At a semi-private gathering attended by people connected to royal social circles, Camilla allegedly made comments about Catherine's connection to Diana that left several people in the room visibly uncomfortable. According to insiders, Camilla claimed Catherine's habit of wearing jewelry associated with Diana was not genuine tribute at all. She allegedly suggested it was carefully calculated public relations designed to increase public sympathy and strengthen Catherine's image with royal fans. One insider claimed Camilla described it as using Diana's memory for attention. Another person present allegedly remembered the room going completely silent after the remarks landed. People reportedly shifted awkwardly in their seats because nobody knew how to respond. The comments shocked several attendees because of how harsh and personal they sounded. To some people in the room, it crossed a line, especially because Catherine herself had never publicly attacked Camilla despite years of endless comparisons between them. And according to royal insiders, word of those comments eventually reached the Duke of Kent. For him, the situation reportedly looked painfully familiar. Once again, he allegedly saw a respected royal woman quietly absorbing attacks while remaining dignified in public. Once again, he saw someone connected to Diana becoming the target of cold palace politics and social cruelty. And insiders claimed that is when his decision became final. Long before the Remembrance Day ceremony ever happened, the Duke reportedly already knew where he wanted certain royal heirlooms and jewelry connected to his family legacy to go in the future. In his mind, Catherine represented continuity, dignity, and respect for the institution without turning it into a power game. Camilla, on the other hand, reportedly represented something very different to him. So when the Duke made that now famous gesture toward Catherine at the cenotaph, insiders believed it was not spontaneous at all. They believed the decision had been sitting inside him for years, waiting for the right moment to become visible. Camilla reportedly understood the meaning immediately, but instead of collapsing emotionally afterward, insiders claimed she became focused, strategic, and determined to fight back. According to palace rumors, she spent hours carefully preparing how to approach Charles about the situation. By the time she entered the room with the king, she allegedly had every argument lined up perfectly. This was not just about personal feelings anymore, at least not from her perspective. Camilla reportedly argued that what happened at the cenotaph created a dangerous image inside the monarchy itself. The longest-serving duke in British history had publicly appeared to place Catherine above the sitting queen consort during one of the most sacred royal ceremonies of the year. And according to insiders, Camilla warned Charles that staying silent about it would send a message throughout the palace that her position could be challenged openly without consequences. People close to the king have long claimed Charles listens to Camilla more than almost anyone else around him. For years, insiders described her as one of the few people capable of calming him, influencing his decisions, and shaping discussions behind closed doors. She reportedly knows exactly how to present an argument to him, when to push, and when to stay quiet. Palace staff have allegedly watched her walk into conversations where Charles seemed completely decided on something, only for him to leave holding a completely different opinion afterward. That is why many insiders expected Charles to defend her immediately. Because historically, when Camilla truly wanted something, she usually found a way to get it, and inside palace walls, everybody knew it. Almost everything inside that palace can usually be handled quietly with a phone call or a closed-door meeting. But this time, Charles could not simply make the problem disappear. And the reason goes straight to the heart of who the Duke of Kent really is. He is not some younger royal who can be pushed aside or privately corrected. He is 90 years old, his wife is gone, and his health is failing fast. People around him know he has reached the point in life where fear no longer controls him anymore. The Duke comes from an older generation of royals, one that existed long before Charles made choices that damaged public trust in the monarchy. Before the affairs, before the scandals, before Diana became trapped inside one of the most painful royal stories in modern history, men like the Duke believed duty came before personal happiness every single time. They protected the crown no matter what it cost them privately. And whether people agree or not, many older royals reportedly felt Charles failed that standard years ago. Most importantly, Charles knows the Duke remembers everything. He remembers the collapse of Diana's marriage, the tension inside the palace, and years of emotional damage that never truly disappeared. A man carrying decades of memory with nothing left to lose becomes impossible to pressure. So when Camilla reportedly pushed Charles to step in over the jewelry dispute, insiders claimed the king responded carefully but firmly. According to palace gossip, Charles simply told her the Duke had every right to make his own private decisions regarding his personal property, and that ended the conversation completely. No dramatic argument, no public pressure, and no attempt to force the Duke's hand. People close to Camilla later claimed she walked away in total silence, and those who know her well say silence from Camilla can sometimes be more dangerous than anger because it usually means she is already planning her next move. But beneath all the tension sat one reality Camilla reportedly could not change no matter how hard she pushed. The jewels legally belonged to the Duke himself. They were private family property, not crown property, meaning no king, palace official, or queen consort could force him to hand them over. He could leave them to whoever he wanted. And technically, Camilla already had access to major royal collections. She had been crowned beside Charles, wearing historic jewels connected directly to the monarchy, so on paper, her position inside the royal family was secure. But insiders believed this fight was never really about jewelry alone. It was about acceptance, respect, and legacy. The real pain reportedly came from the fact that a 90-year-old duke had looked at everything she fought for and still decided Catherine represented the future more than she did. Another issue made the duke's decision even more important behind palace walls. If Catherine did not eventually receive these jewels, many of them could quietly disappear from royal public life forever. The duke's children are not working royals, and if the jewelry passed through regular family inheritance, many historic pieces could end up locked away inside private homes, unseen by the public and disconnected from royal tradition completely. According to insiders, that possibility weighed heavily on the duke for years because the pieces tied to Princess Marina carried generations of royal history. To him, they were not objects meant to sit forgotten in storage. They were part of a living royal story that deserved to survive. The history behind the Cambridge sapphires reportedly meant a great deal to him as well. The jewels passed through generations of royal women over more than 2 centuries before eventually reaching Princess Marina. Many insiders believed the Duke fully understood the symbolism if those same jewels someday reached Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose first major royal title alongside William was Cambridge. To him, it created a direct line between generations of royal women connected through history, survival, and duty. The surviving pieces from Marina's collection had already spent years hidden from public view, and some had not appeared publicly in decades. Palace insiders claimed the Duke feared they would slowly vanish from royal memory if left outside active royal life. Catherine, however, reportedly treated royal jewelry very differently. Over the years, royal fans noticed how carefully she honored the women connected to the pieces she wore. Whenever Catherine appeared in jewelry linked to Diana, people instantly remembered Diana herself. The same happened with pieces connected to Queen Elizabeth II. According to insiders, older royals respected the way Catherine used jewelry to preserve royal history rather than simply display wealth or status. To them, she understood the deeper meaning behind it all, and that mattered far more than headlines or public attention. Then came Catherine's health battle in 2024, and insiders claimed it sealed everything in the Duke's mind. When news broke about her cancer diagnosis and recovery, sympathy poured in from around the world. But inside royal circles, people reportedly saw something else too: resilience. Catherine stepped away from public life, focused on recovery, and later returned calmer and stronger than many expected. To older royals like the Duke, that quiet strength mattered deeply. According to insiders, he watched Catherine endure public pressure, family tension, health struggles, and non-stop criticism without publicly breaking down. By then, people close to the family believed his decision about the jewels had become completely final. He had watched Diana suffer, watched his own wife struggle emotionally while being mocked behind closed doors, and watched Catherine absorb years of pressure without publicly fighting back. Then he watched her survive serious illness and return standing taller than before. So when he reportedly approached Catherine at the cenotaph, took her hand and quietly told her, "The jewels are going where they belong," many insiders believed it was far more than a conversation about jewelry. It was the final message of a man who had spent decades silently watching the monarchy change around him. And after 90 years of royal history, the Duke of Kent reportedly made one final decision before his chapter closed. He wanted those historic jewels worn publicly by the future Queen of England, not hidden away and forgotten forever.